that's inherent to their business model.
Yeah, very good point about the large corporates entering the Web3 and how that in a way is controversial to what they stand for and what Web3 and blockchain stand for as well. So on that note, I wanted to maybe ask Jamie to contribute to that as well. So very much of a bottom-up approach, but now lately we have seen a lot of centralized institutions, just like William was noticing, coming into the space, like the Meta, Amex I think recently has patented for metaverse trademarks. We also have Ubisoft, and so aren't they really trying to eat from our lunch? And isn't this kind of contrary to what they stand for, their decentralization? So Jamie, I just wanted to see what's your view on that from...
Yeah, sure. So I think there are 2 points there. I think first, I think it's the question really should be reversed to an extent. Well, are they trying to eat our lunch, or the gaming industry anyway, are we trying to eat their lunch? I mean, let's be under no disillusion that the gaming industry is still absolutely enormous. I know a lot of us in here, well, myself anyway, are involved in blockchain gaming, the play-to-earn sort of wave, but we're still a very, very small piece of the pie. So the question is, is there space for us in the industry, and will they let us take a part, and not the other way around? But it's very interesting what William said about this centralization, because obviously you can't really have true decentralization without the sort of, the connections and the messaging, everything we decentralize. With gaming, you run into this glass ceiling where you have to, well, I presume you have to anyway, you have to have an element of centralization in the game. I mean, because there's graphics, there's gameplay, there's the servers being up, there's characters. These things you can't avoid. I don't think it's a terrible thing. I don't think having a mix between decentralized assets and sort of NFTs and an economy within a game and a sort of a more centralized sort of infrastructure within it is a bad thing. I think in fact it's essential for gaming if you want to get a good product up there. But regarding the likes of Ubisoft and Meta, I think that they're very separate in the term metaverse. Obviously they're looking at the more sort of hardware, VR, AI kind of definition of it, whereas blockchain gaming, we've kind of coined it for the idea of ownership. I mean, coming from as you said before, a traditional gaming studio background, our utopian idea at the beginning was like, okay, look, the gaming industry is enormous, the cryptocurrency market is enormous, let's combine them all, and eureka, you've got this sort of enormous sort of join between the two. But what we're seeing, especially with the likes of Ubisoft coming in, other companies, that the NFT space hasn't matured enough for the gaming community to really embrace it like we all expected. So, and whereas the play-to-earn side of things, a lot of people are more interested in just sort of clicking to sort of earn money as opposed to the actual game. So if the gamers don't want to do the play-to-earn and the play-to-earn don't care about the gamers, where's the demographic there? And but what I found, we found along on our journey, is that there's actually sort of this third wheel, this third movement, this third demographic being formed of people that didn't actually game. They play some games, but this idea of ownership, and that's the exciting part of it.
To add on the NFT side of that?
We're in the first round of NFTs. The ability to do things with the NFTs is quite primitive today. As state machines become more advanced, as we start to introduce things like AI, and then of course as augmented reality becomes prominent with wearable, well-priced consumer devices, the space will grow a lot. I think that in the end, there is some tension between traditional gamers and people who want to use NFTs, and probably that will bifurcate for a while. Whether or not game companies embrace NFTs, I ran the largest marketplace for buying and selling of video game virtual items, and the video game companies did not like that. And they certainly don't like the notion that people might own their virtual item. So I have a hard time imagining any company doing that. Ubisoft did not release an NFT unless you torture the definition of an NFT. NFTs don't come with dozens of terms of service limitations. When you see that, you sort of say, you don't really own that, they own it. So we haven't yet seen big companies embrace them. I think that's wonderful if you're a developer. Just like any tech innovation, usually it's the small companies, it's the indie developers who first embrace a new technology. This certainly happened with mobile, and what you have is speed to market advantage. So I would say to anyone who's thinking of building a blockchain-based game using NFTs, you still have a lot of open market because most of the big game companies are going to be hesitant.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think we have a taxonomy issue in the industry, right? So we talk about all these different things and what they are to different people. Like decentralized is a trigger word. What are NFTs? So these will evolve. You need organizations or you need people to come together to be able to create common definitions, and that's going to occur. It doesn't happen instantly. Those will happen. On the side of whether or not centralized companies will come in and try to decentralize themselves, that's the hope. I think that as people start building value from their software, when you look at a company like Google, it's stacked. 90% of it is built on the back of open source developers. And them saying that they actually contribute to open source is laughable, right? So the value that they're deriving has always been derived on open source development, and we're going to continue to drive at that. Just now, we're going to be able to have tools that allow those that are developers to derive value back. So the organizations like Google, like Facebook, like other large entities are going to have a tough time retaining talent. And so when the talent is actually valued for their contribution, they can step away, they can create their own communities, their own community value. So when that happens, it's going to be hard for them to stay in business. It's going to be hard for them to compete. So that's the future that I hope for as we kind of evolve the tools and tooling to make sure that this system of ownership sides back towards the decentralization that the internet was intended to be. Hopefully we'll find what the internet might become.
Yeah, I would add, I think it's exactly right. As blockchain evolved, it was mostly a group of volunteers, and a very narrow set of those, someone who is perfections on the chain. So think of a miner. But to have a distributed, decentralized blockchain, you need a lot of different organizations, a lot of different people contributing. One of those would be the people who maintain that copy of the blockchain. And it's striking to me how few there are. Bitcoin has maybe 14,000, 15,000 copies. That may sound like a lot. It's really not that much. But those people who are maintaining that copy, we call them nodes, they're not compensated. And so that you might call a flaw or a limitation in the original blockchain development. But what you're going to see over the next few years, as we see more and more, we're going to innovate around how you compensate those people for doing those things. Nodes now are starting to get compensated. Strongblock does that. It compensates people who manage Ethereum nodes. You'll see that. So a lot of people are worried that there'll be fewer jobs in the future. No one was running decentralized nodes 10 years ago, or very few. So now and in the future, that will be a compensated opportunity, which will help lead us to this idea of things being decentralized, because you're going to volunteer for a while, but at some point you want to get paid.
I'm Timothy are such a good advocates here, because I'm sure some people in the audience are still debating, should I enter this space or not? And I think you've sold it so well. Thank you for that. But also on the subject that you touched earlier on, the small print, like when you launch an NFT or like the standards, like if you have that small print, it's not really decentralized. So
yeah, I would say if there's a term of service to your project, there may be parts of it that are decentralized, but the whole notion is permissionless and open. Now again, try to launch an app on Apple or Google Play. You will have to conform to a whole bunch of rules and have a certain legal structure. And if you don't conform to those rules, you will be banned, right? So that is not permissionless and open. That's one reason why I don't believe we're going to see a massive number of very large, multi-trillion-dollar companies try to come into this space and dominate what's been done mostly by independent developers so far.
But do we need those standards? Because in a way, if it's so decentralized, we might have bad players. And I'm sure Jamie has, experienced quite a few within the gaming industry. And so who should be building those standards?
Yeah,
and how should we go about it?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, when you come to games, you do have rules, sorts of centralized systems in place. So it's very hard to avoid this whole sort of concept of utter decentralization. And I think, the bigger game companies are very sort of happy with the way they is, the way they are. They're making their millions with a centralized organization. People are still paying to play. It could actually tackle it. But it's interesting you bring up the actually didn't have as this play to earn mechanics. It was a game kind of like to earn an economy within it. The whole energy just changes. Everyone's there sort of here and a token here. And I don't know if it detracts from the fun, or perhaps it does detract from the fun. While our community still enjoy it, it's made us realise, I feel like traditional gaming in the centralised sense and play to earn, they're two very hard, it's a very hard circle to square. They're two very different energies where you approach something. And yes, of course, I mean, we've got 24/7, we call them the Vulcan police, monitoring the experience points and what they're doing, how they sort of find things and find exploits, which isn't the main reason we kind of joined the whole gaming, the blockchain gaming thing. So yeah, I always like to say on these sort of talks to really sort of differentiate between blockchain gaming and play to earn. I don't know how sustainable play to earn is. I don't know how big the model, which is still enormous, but I think blockchain gaming, the idea of ownership and NFTs, are future in my opinion.
I want to draw some parallel to the earlier DAOs, and I think he's got quite a lot of deep details of how it works. So I assume everybody in the audience is already familiar with the concept of DAO, but is DAO the answer?
So DAOs right now are super inefficient and they're very, very difficult. Again, this is an idea. I founded a DAO. I've been a part of different DAO communities for the last 6 years. I founded a developer DAO, DevX DAO, and love Eric Massari does absolutely amazing work. Everyone should be visiting them for a lot of research. But DAO is evolving, and this is a super early technique. It was early in the evolution of what DAOs were, whether they were Swarm or BitShares or the DAO. The snafu with the DAO and the issue that they went through kind of pushed the track of DAO back several years. And now we're seeing the reemergence of these governance tools, which is amazing. But we still have a lot to build. I totally echo his thoughts and belief of where the DAO market will be. I believe that DAO as an organizational tool will surpass the equity model of organizational entity that we have. From 1605, the Dutch East India Company, to 20 years in the future, we're going to continue to have these equity-based ownership organizations, but being able to create these new constructs that have global touch and global reach and global participation, I think there will be more DAOs that are generated in the next 100 years than have been equity-based organizations in the last 400.
I see. I'd like to shift our conversation a little bit towards kind of the future, the excitement that it all brings. And I want to ask William a little bit more about the NFTs, use cases, and how do you see that evolving, and what are some of the new utilities that the NFTs might bring to the rest of the economy, beyond the crypto economy?
I guess we don't have a lot of time, so I would just to focus people's attention on how to think about NFTs. What they are not are media files on a blockchain. They're not pieces of art, snippets of a movie, soundtracks. Those are use cases for an NFT. An NFT is simply it's a Turing-complete computer. It's a Turing-complete computer that you can send to another person and know that the underlying code has not been modified. So anything that you can program, any piece of software that you can write, that you can creatively conceive of, can be an NFT. And therefore, every industry on Earth will ultimately embed NFTs in their business. There are companies that employ thousands of people, and all they do is process fees and allocate out fees. NFTs do that for free. There are companies that audit what you do, right? There are millions of people around the world employed to verify the authenticity of documents. And NFTs do that with no humans. They do it instantly, they don't require payment. So virtually every industry that I can think of will have NFTs, these mini computers that people are sending back and forth that don't have malware. That's sort of the future. And many technologies, augmented reality, AI will be part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're drawing to a close, our panel is quite a fast one. I wanted to ask our guests if you can maybe share 3 things that you're super excited about for the Web3 and what it brings to the crypto economy. Maybe we can start with Timothy.
What am I excited about? I'm excited about a lot of Web2 developers discovering what Web3 really is. I'm excited for them to see that it's not just speculative coins on a marketplace where you can buy, sell, trade, I'm excited to continue the evolutionary journey to have more value be brought in, and really kind of welcoming this next generation of sovereign individual into a system where you can operate and gain and earn value and distribute value on your own terms without an identity, without a bank account, being able to add on these billions of people that have been left out of the economy. So very excited to welcome the world into a global economy.
Absolutely, and I think gaming is a very sort of easy onboarding way to sort of onboarding to do that. Bring people into sort of this economy which they haven't experienced before. Blockchain enables an economy with a virtual world, and you can decorate that virtual world how you like. I mean, honestly, I couldn't be more excited the way that the whole sort of metaverse, however you want to sort of coin it, is going this year. We finally come out of that shadow of what crypto is now than ever were before, and you've had proven models like Second Life and World of Warcraft and Sandbox, and now we've got a chance to sort of incorporate the world or virtual world, in our case it's a fantasy world, and on a philosophical level it's fascinating, because you're seeing a lot of these hierarchies in these virtual worlds that you'd see in real life, because people are trading real assets which are worth real money, and they're earning real tokens, and sort of you're finding cliques being formed, and as I said, hierarchies being formed, and sort of cheating the system, and a lot of these kind of, I wouldn't say dark side, but the dark and the good side of whether or not it's ominous or it's exciting, I don't know, but it certainly would enjoy watching.
Thank you, Jamie.
I won't give you three, I'll give you one. And that is the fact that the way the internet evolved from Web 1.0 to 2.0 was really adding a second layer. You've heard of layer 2, of course, in the blockchain space. The internet has a layer 2. Layer 2 is Facebook, Google, Twitter, Amazon. Any platform where millions of consumers or billions of consumers are funneled. Most people who start businesses now, they start them going through those layers. And as a result, you are bound by what those operators, those dark overlords, decide you can do. And we haven't even really been aware of it, but what's been going on is our ability to innovate has been heavily restricted, because we can only innovate as far as those companies allow us to, and their business model allows them for us to do. So what I like about Web3, the true Web3, is that you ask no permission to launch any business model. You want to do a play to earn, you do play to earn. Whatever business model you can conceive of. So with Web3, we are going to see an explosion of business models, and that, I think, is the biggest promise.
Thank you. The future looks bright. The future looks, blockchain and crypto and the rest. So thank you. That's really, on that note, I just want to say thank you, Timothy, and wishing the audience a great day ahead and the rest of the Binance Blockchain Week. Thank you so much, everyone. My apologies for it. Thank you so much to Mariana and her brilliant panel. We always have to walk a fine line in crypto when it comes to decentralization, and I'm sure Web3 will be no different. So, it looks like it's time for our very first NFT QR code of the day. So make sure to scan it in time, because it'll only be on the screen for a brief moment. We also have exclusive QR codes for on-site users in the exposition area. So please make sure to check them out and do not share them with anyone else online. They are just for us here today.